we start? It's 11:05 now. You're not audible, ma'am.
Yeah, let's start now. It's
All right.
11:05 now. Let's start.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on data to decisions, how cloud, AI, and IoT are reshaping businesses. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce today's distinguished speaker, Ms. Shalini Kapoor, a visionary technologist, a pioneer in AI, and a true architect of innovation. As Chief Technologist for Asia Pacific region at AWS, she led transformative technology strategies across government, healthcare, education, and agriculture. She has over 28 years of experience across engineering, research, and leadership, and has been at the forefront of driving large-scale digital transformation. She holds the honor of being India's first woman IBM Distinguished Engineer and has led global initiatives in AI, cloud, and IoT. Her work has ranged from launching AI-powered IoT platforms, to introducing AI curriculum in CBSE schools, reaching over 2 lakh girls students. She's also the author of the very famous acclaimed book called AI for You, the new Gamechanger. And she also hosts a podcast, AI Infusion, with over 15 patents, several global awards, and roles with the Economic World Forum and FICCI. Ms. Shalini continues to inspire with her commitment to purposeful technology and inclusive innovation. Please join me in welcoming the remarkable Ms. Shalini Kapoor. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Thank you so much.
Okay, ma'am. So, should we start, or would you like to have some introductory comments, and then maybe we can ask for the questions and sessions?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed, and thank you for inviting me here to talk to the entire community who's so interested on AI on a Sunday morning. It's very inspiring to see that all of you are keen to learn, keen to explore, and also maybe dirty your hands with AI so that you can build more and you can create more. So I'm happy, and I'll let's keep some time for the participants to ask some questions, or they can kind of maybe chat and someone can collect them, and we can spend last 10-15 minutes on questions, because I'm sure based on what we discuss, they will be, I want the discussion to be very, very interactive.
Sure, ma'am. Ma'am, you have led some of the largest citizen scale digital transformation projects. So how would you describe the convergence of cloud, AI, and IoT in reshaping business today?
Yeah, sure. Let me give a bit of background. I mean, what are the large transformation projects about, and where I have worked in. So essentially, it's a full 28-30 years of work experience that I have, and there have been transformation projects, both global and in India. While at IBM, I had led a lot of global large-scale products development, which were deployed by customers in automotive, in manufacturing, in telcos, in banking and finance. So we would create products here. So the transformation was a lot about how do you change and transform the India engineering team. So I set up the labs in Internet of Things and AI in Bangalore, of course, with also present in Hyderabad and Pune, and Chennai to some extent. So there has been transformations which are internal. There is as well as transformations in the public sector domain. And my experience in Amazon Web Services was all about public sector large transformations. And they're very interesting because a lot of you will relate to them. If I'm sure each one we went through the whole COVID era, and you would have used the Covin platform. So the Covin platform, the Digi Locker, which I'm sure a lot of you use, Digi Yatra, which is used by a lot of travelers these days. The National Health Authority work, which in which Abha ID gets created. These are large transformation projects, and these are, they were led as when I was in AWS. And during that times, my team has built all these large projects, and I have seen the transformation of how the government systems are changing, and how you get, there were things were like just physical in nature, paper in nature, right? So I have seen the journey of it moving digitally, as well as then applying AI. If you see Digi Yatra, it's a face recognition, which is an important AI model, which is working based on, what you have submitted. And then there's security, there's confidentiality, because your Aadhaar is not stored in any of the servers. It's there with you in your wallet. So the transformation projects across technology have been both in building products which can scale globally, as well as in Indian systems, where the entire society, entire millions of people are going to use the technology that you have built. So technology transformation, what I've learned over a period of all these different projects, is the technology transformation is not just technology. It has to be about people. It has to be about processes. It has to be how you collaborate and think of scale, right? So you might start a product or something which is going to touch only like a few thousands, but then is your target that it is going to touch millions? So the transformation is about is about scale, and then it is also about replacing a lot of new technology. See, technology changes, right? Today you might have a framework which is more like, if you see in AI, agent to agent protocols, model context protocol, there are new protocols getting launched. Technology keep changes, and now that I've seen the cycle, I know in early 90s or mid 90s, I started my working like late 90s, and at that point of time there was so much of middleware systems and transaction systems which are being talked about. Over a period of time, the whole service oriented architecture came in, J2E, and the whole enterprise, how enterprises are going to have, and with Java as the open source thing, a lot of innovations happened at that point of time. And then there was a time when the whole mobile revolution happened, and the technologies became more, what can you build on Android, what can you build on iPhone? So it became more personalized. It became what I need more. So technology is changed, and then the whole Internet of Things came up, and then today we are talking about AI. So technology of how you build changes, but what in large transformation doesn't change is about people's interaction, because how do you interact and make technology simpler? How do you make it scalable? How do you ensure that it is foolproof, and it doesn't, how you can detect fraud into that? So that has remained the same. So these parts have remained the same, whether you want to take scale to millions of people in 90s or to 2000s or 2000, or even going forward in the year. So how do you build, how do you use the technology to build applications which are secure, which are scalable, which are responsible? That's another thing which has come up, because now with digital interactions, there are more people using it. So the responsibility of using it ethically and in the right manner, and which covers the entire fraud area, all these become important. So in a large transformation across all the technologies, this part is what we need to, and this has been my learning in the last few years.
All right, ma'am. Ma'am, like when I was in college and schools, we used to have like floppy disks, and then it was the era of pen drives and all. Today's everyone is like working on clouds. So how has cloud computing transformed the scalability and accessibility of business,
Yeah.
maybe for both larger or as well as emerging startups?
Yes, yes. Very good question. So see, one has to understand, why did cloud come up? I mean, we used to have our own servers and everything, right? Every time, and let's take an example of a startup, right? If there's a small startup and they want to say build up an app for health, or reaching out, or sell potatoes and tomatoes, simple example. So even if we take that, the app creator is interested in selling potatoes, tomatoes, right? And reaching out to people. The app person is not that interested in, who provides me the technology stack, what it is, but actually they have to. If they don't set up a good compute environment, good storage, security, accessibility, and then if he doesn't do that, then the app is not going to come up itself. Today it is very easy, because all that you do is you just call the APIs and plumb them together. But if you see that, there is a lot of effort involved into this, right? If you don't have a cloud system, there were times you have to set up the server, you have to have people to manage the administration of the servers. I remember, in around 2000, I myself took a WebSphere admin certification. I was supposed to do that as part of the job. So, administration of servers itself is a big cost overhead. And there is of people, cost of people, as well as cost of the server itself, setting it up. So first of all, cloud removes the entire burden of doing it and starting everything from scratch. That's the first thing. The other thing is, think about, suppose a startup, this potatoes, tomatoes, suppose this person becomes really big, and the whole of Maharashtra is buying, the whole of Delhi is buying, the whole of Karnataka is buying. How does that person take one server to like a farm of servers? Think about that startup has to procure and connect and then build them together and hire more people. Again, so much of cost is coming. Cloud removes that. On demand, you can just plug and introduce more servers, bring in scalability, and suppose this company can go global. It wants to set up in Amsterdam. It wants to set up in Thailand. Cloud is available, and economies of scale have been can be benefited from. So I can put up one server in US, one in London, one in Amsterdam, one in Thailand, and connect and use the same app, right? So it can scale. So economies of scale is something which, when you want to go from zero to very big, and from zero to build up and have global deployments, that is possible. Even if, suppose, that person, suddenly there is Diwali coming, and in Diwali there's surge of things to be bought. How do you manage surge? Because you cannot procure 40 servers, and then after Diwali, everything is like, everybody is done. They don't want to buy for another 1.5 months. And they come down and then you sell your servers. That doesn't happen. But in cloud, you can. You can buy only for a month. Buy 40 servers, get done with it on demand. And then in November, just bring down your deployments and say, I'm going to use even less. So this capability of scaling up, scaling down, increasing, doing global deployments, staying local, staying, say, suppose, US is doing better, but in India you bring down, or India you bring up. So all these kind of combinations can happen if you move to cloud computing, and that's why people love it. The other part is the build. The build is very easy because there are so many services available now. So one was compute, one was storage, which I talked about. You have increased storage. But then think about that you want to analyze, you want to do recommendations to your people. You want to do, so the entire analytics piece now starts coming in. So when you start the analytics piece, then there are, you want to have structured data, unstructured data, you want to derive insights out of it. You want to say use an LLM, but you are not sure which LLM you want to use. You want to do multi-model that, I'll use Mistral also, I'll use maybe, OpenAI also, I'll use Gemini also, because depending on the use case, you want to be, choosy about what you want. So look at these scenarios that, as a business grows, the digital needs of a business grows. And you sometimes need compute, sometimes storage, sometimes analytics, sometimes, just a good engine to connect to the various devices which are there in the field. So you need so many services. Services are like product functionality that you need. In cloud, all of these can be available on demand when you want them, and you can build many more applications. So this is the reason why you will see a lot of internet-based companies which started with internet, which grew bigger with internet. They actually grew on cloud. They were born on cloud. But a lot of traditional companies, who started much earlier, and there you will find a hybrid environment. Some of the things are on premise and some of them are on cloud. And a lot of banking and financial, you will see a combination, right? I mean, your banking sites and all, they are a lot on cloud, but there's a lot of core banking applications of our account data that is actually not on cloud. It's not on cloud because there is a fear of how secure it will be. Actually, in my experience, what I've seen, it's more secure on cloud, because in cloud the security is in your hand, but in on-premise system, the security is dependent on the admin person who's managing it, right? So the whole soft key, hardware encryption, software encryption, that all can be possible a lot on cloud. So cloud is a journey. And now even, if you see Covin, which was it was launched on cloud. How can you ensure, I mean, think about it, how can you take time to think about it, that on one day where they announced that there will be vaccination, and it was our prime minister's birthday, there were millions and millions of 1.9, I remember, or something like that, doses given on a day. And after the vaccination had ended, then it immediately came down. So how do you manage that spikes? That was possible because it was on a cloud. So the entire COVID application is on a cloud. The entire DigiLocker is on a cloud. Even DigiYatra is on a cloud. So the cloud enables economies of scale. It gives you ease of use of multiple services. You can you can do innovate more, because now that all that is that, oh, I want to build a recommendation engine. Hey, I'll just use the service. It's very easy. You don't have to provision. You don't have to set up the entire environment again. So that's what it brings in.
All right, ma'am. Ma'am, Divyansh has a question. He wants to explore how AI ML is connected to cloud computing. We know that, ma'am, AI is increasingly being used to automate insights. So, in your experience, how are organizations moving from descriptive to predictive and even predictive analytics?
Yeah, so I think I'll answer Divyansh's question first, that how AI ML. So basically, see, if you see in AI ML, let's think about how, see, in AI ML, the way it started is there's a lot of data available, and you apply multiple methodologies to understand, and based on your requirements, you can build models around it, right? So it is about data, right? And it is about data, and it's about the models that you need to get insights out of that data. Now cloud is a mechanism by which you can do this. It's one of the mechanisms. So your data as well as your models, you can keep on cloud, or you can keep on one server on your laptop and still do AI ML. Both are possible. But the question is that Do you want to build a large application and hence you want to scale it and you want to do AI ML into multiple places? Or you just want, it could be even an edge device. Edge device is like, you have Indian Oil petrol pump. At the petrol pump, you want certain analytics and you want to figure out about some customer there and then, and it's a small device on which it has to happen. AI ML can run on that also. So AI ML can run there. It can run on your laptop. It can run on cloud. So AI and cloud interaction is AI is analytics about data and how much you want to work on that data. If suppose there's huge amount of data, you might need either a supercomputer or a cloud in which you can scale to be able to do the inference, right? Inference is the connection between all the data so that you can get an insight. So this is what AI ML. This is AI ML connected to cloud, and uh,
Regarding how organizations are moving from like
yeah. So organizations see in the traditional AI is about predictive, about how you do predictions, which is normal machine learning algorithms. You have linear regression, you have correlations, you have, there are a lot of, you should definitely find and search about the various algorithms to do traditional machine learning. Today, what has happened is that, there was a big paper which Google published several years back called transfer learning. The transfer learning paper was actually the turning point and for GenAI to happen. It was not when ChatGPT came. It was a transfer learning paper. And I would recommend all the students to please search about it, talk about it. There are some Indians who have written it and Indians in the thing, but it was a transfer learning paper, and that changed because that talked about how multiple networks can learn from the insights and then feed the information back to itself. And that was the start of GenAI because GenAI is about that how do you generate new images? How do you generate content? How do you generate new things by the learning that so it's not dependent on only the data. The traditional machine learning, what they do is they learn from this data and based on what they have learned, they do that. Transfer learning is beyond that. This data set is not enough. It can generate new ideas. It can generate new things, something which you have not taught it, right? So these are the changes which the organizations are doing. And in a traditional enterprise, you will find machine learning also. You will find traditional predictive and prescriptive as well, and you will find GenAI use cases. It depends on how you use case and which use case you should apply. So that's the that's the learning that you need to do, that which use case you need not do GenAI for everything. It will not, it's like a hammer looking for a nail, and unnecessarily you are using it, right? So you have to ensure that machine learning is for the right use case and GenAI is for the right use case.
okay, ma'am, there's a very interesting question from Ritesh. He says how cloud, AI, and IoT are going to impact the power sector across all streams.
Specifically in the power sector, see in power sector there are various things. There's distribution, there's generation of power. Both the things are there, right? So in the distribution, there is a lot of things. In fact, even in generation, because now what is happening is there's a lot of impact of the whole sustainability part of it, right? So I have done projects with even renewable energies organizations where they were using IoT and AI together. Very nice example that depending on the device, the sensor, the solar power is you have to keep changing the mirror. You have to keep changing because sun moves, right? So there will be devices which will be capturing based on the sun, and they will they will do maximum energy generation based on how you change it. And then at the analytics level you can measure, you can measure how much you have generated, what you have generated, even do analysis of homes, of what has been consumed, how you can reduce it at every home based on the fan and based on the floor and based on, so you can do a lot of analysis based on what you are getting out of a home. and what you are actually utilizing, so that you save more and you become it better, and then you can do it at the grid level as well. So there is a lot of interaction. And see, the AI part will always be that when you get a lot of data, say from a locality, say from a large locality, and then from a city, and then from a country, the more data you have, the better you can analyze. With less data, you will not be able to analyze. So it's about understanding and getting and making those predictive analytics, right? You can do predict that this is. I remember in IBM, I launched a project called building. I launched a product called Building Insights. Building Insights was about, it had an energy model, AI model, AI model, which was measuring, no, not measuring, it was giving an insight as to how much electricity power can be saved in this building. And how was it doing that it was taking weather inputs, outside weather. So today is 20 degrees centigrade, and it was taking access control of the employees who are coming in from our badges. So if 200 employees have walked in today and the temperature is 20 degree, then this should be the ambient temperature of the chiller and the AC. Because based on that, if you don't take the input, then the chiller is running and the AC is running at the same amount, right? It might be freezing outside. You need not, put so much pressure on your AC. You can save on your electricity bill. So the energy model will look at weather, at access control, at even occupancy of the floor. People have walked in, but at one floor, there are on the seats, there were sensors. There were sensors which were attached, so you can figure out that who is sitting. So on one floor, there are just 20 people. And on another floor, there are 100 people sitting. So you can change the temperature of both the places and save on electricity bill when there are only 20 people in the office, right? So that model would work and actually give an insights to a space planner, or to keep changing the temperature. So you see how IoT, AI, and all these things, and all it needed was a good system which could monitor the access control, look at the weather API, but also give indication to a chiller and AC. So you have to connect them. Getting and they were Honeywell and Siemens systems. So you have to connect them. So that way we were able to, create. So this is power also, this is IoT also, this is AI also. It's sitting on cloud, so you use cloud also. And it's on a SaaS based service. So, again, another concept I'll introduce, that we have made this entire thing available as software as a service. Right. So you can and actually we implemented it at all the big bazaars at that time. Big bazaars used to say people come and we start AC at 7 a.m. in the morning, but customers come only at 10 start coming at 9:30, 10. So we have used the AC for 2.5 hours, and that has, like, it is a lot of electricity bill for me, but no customers. So we brought down their electricity bill, and hence the operation of a big bazaar store. Today, big bazaars are not there. That's a different thing. But I'm saying this is how it can be implemented.
I'm given that sensors are very cheap these days, and the massive data from connected devices are coming. So how can like businesses effectively integrate IoT data into businesses without being overwhelmed by the voluminous and the
Yeah.
complexity of the data?
Yeah, so I gave that example, right? I mean, that's exactly the example, that how you can connect is like, I gave example of IOCL, I gave example of Building Insights, big bazaars. They are all ways in which you can kind of bring together things, and businesses have to think about, first of all, they have to think about what's my data story. They first have to do a data lake. They have to make a data lake. They have to clean the data. They have to make more sense of it. Once they have created and done the whole data journey, then they should think about what analytics and what we can, and they'll have to do a lot of proof of concepts to see what works. It's not necessarily that it will happen, like, immediately you will have answers. You have to do experimentations. And I encourage students to think about these products, think about the problem first. think about the problem, and then think about where can I get open source data sets. There are a lot of open source data sets. I mean, today, if you look, AI Kosh, which has been launched by Government of India, they are releasing a lot of data sets in health, in geospatial, in satellite. So you should, as students, you should start. The government is putting a lot of effort on releasing data sets so that students, researchers, businesses, they can all get help from it. So use that mechanism to start building applications, make small applications. But that's how you should do it. And use cloud services. There are a lot of cloud services which are available.
Ma'am, there's one interesting question from Ritesh Andharia. He says that like how e-waste for big servers are disposed and how recycling or circular economy aspects are ensured for
Yeah,
these.
very good question. So I think that's a thing that in a technology you have to think about sustainability also, right? I'll give one example and this is example from my the organization I used to work for, which is AWS, and they have large data centers in Mumbai and Hyderabad, and it is a lot of power that they consume, lot of power, but they made it completely on renewable energy. So there are large wind and solar farms in Maharashtra and Rajasthan, which serve these data centers, which are power guzzlers, no doubt about it, but it is all by renewable energy. Now that's okay, that's a good part. So from a circular economy perspective, it's important that first we figure out what do we measure. Right. So there are scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. These are, and you can search them all. They are these guidelines which have been made globally. This is not just India. Globally, there are guidelines. For example, there are guidelines of how can you save on fuel? How can you save on electricity at home? So there are, and then once you have identified that what are the energy producers, consumer areas, and then how to save them. So if you follow the guidelines, then you get various carbon credits. So a lot of factories and manufacturing organizations, they get, depending on the scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 compliance that they do, they get a lot of um, um, benefits in terms of the carbon credits. That's how the whole sustainability system is being put up. And based on that, if you can do that, you can even trade, like, you can trade it. So they have made it in the carbon credit system in such a manner that the organization, to comply, from a compliance and audit perspective, it's important that they show their sustainable goals, that how have they adhered to it, how have they met it. So if there is a server, which there are many, and then there is an end of life, if end of life has been achieved, then how do you dispose it of? And if you have to dispose it of, then in what way are you in what way are you reusing some part of it, recycling some part of it, and maybe getting it to into a renewable part to some more. So this is a whole cycle which do, and in fact, there are some very interesting startups. I met a startup who is made the printers have carbon suit, right? With the printer ink, they have used that to make on t-shirts and reuse it in paint as well, right? So t-shirts, when you print on t-shirts, that same printing, that carbon suit is used, as well as it is converted into things which people can use in pencils or so it's kind of, you bring it back into the economy and make it more reusable. Of course, it's a little expensive to do that, but the more you use, the economies of scale come in, the cost reduces for it to happen.
All right, ma'am. Ma'am, what trends do you foresee over the next 3-5 years? Like that can further shape the business through these technologies. Are we moving towards like more autonomous decision systems?
Yeah, so the trend which I see is that definitely with AI, there's going to be a lot of new agents which will get created, right? And when I say what is an agent is, let me explain simply. Suppose you have to book your travel, right? What do? You go to Make My Trip, you'll kind of search, you'll make an itinerary. You have to suppose you have to go to Spain. You don't know what to do in Spain. You want to go to Spain, but you don't know what to do in Spain. Somebody has to make an itinerary. So what you'll do is you'll Google, you'll find out, then you will find a site, then you will book your cab, you'll book your tickets, you book your hotel. So you have to go to multiple sites. Thankfully, earlier, what do you do? Several years back, you would have to call a travel agent to do all this thing for you. Then, thankfully, with digitization, you had these sites like Make My Trip, and all those various sites to help you do that. Google is helping you do that. But what if there is an AI agent whom you tell in conversational language that say in not even in Hindi, you say it in Telugu, you say it in Punjabi, you give and you give that and you say it in voice. You don't even type, right? So you type, you say it. Now the agent will understand your language, will at the back end talk to all the websites and give you back an answer and ask you a question in your language and maybe take your details and then get the whole thing done. So there are multiple agents which will work at the back end for this, and the agentic world is what we are moving towards. And in that, the language is the most important. There is a lot of work happening. So I also see that within India there will be the language translations which are needed. Like there is a work which is happening called AI for Bharat in IIT Madras, where there's research happening to bring 22 different Indian languages onto, so that you can converse with them. You can have voice bots where you can, you can talk to them. So because if you have to take AI to millions and billions, then you have to make it in the interface which people understand. A farmer doesn't know still how to type. They cannot type on WhatsApp also. They are just sending pictures and they are sending voice messages. So I think a future trend which is coming is that you can talk to systems in your language, and for that you need a lot of, unfortunately, the data sets for language are not available, because the language we talk to each other and the way we talk to each other, we are not recording that, or we are not creating. So there is an effort called in the government called Bhasha Dan, and I would encourage all of you to give Dan in that. So it's like all that you talk about, that language, that data set is going to help build your language. So even, and not just language, dialect, your own dialect, because in Dehradun there is a different kind of Hindi vis-a-vis in Gorakhpur, which is a different kind of Hindi. So the dialects are different. So how do we contribute? So as Indians, we should contribute. So multilingual and multimodal, and that's the world, that's a trend that I see coming in.
And there are a lot of questions by young professionals. They want to know how to start. So, what advice would you give to young professionals or business leaders looking to stay relevant in the evolving data-driven world?
Yeah, okay, so that's an interesting thing. So see, what happens as a student is that everything overwhelms you. First of all, what do I do, right? And what do I do so that I get a good job? I think that's the biggest question in every student's mind. But I think you need to think about, see, technologies will keep happening, and you have to prove your prowess in a technology. I'm not saying you don't have to do that. You have to do that. You have to learn some skills, but more than learn, you have to understand. You have to be a problem solver. You have to solve the problem which is there with you, either the enterprise or the organization, or and to solve a problem, you need more than a technology framework. You need a lot of soft skills. And when I say soft skills, which are, it is about you have to develop your critical thinking. As students, you have to really focus on to solve a problem. Technology is a means, and yes, you have to learn it. I'm not saying I have learned. I have done certifications. I did my cloud certifications. I keep studying about it. But then I see what's the problem that I'm solving. I'm solving a problem for, say, building health records for all of India, right? So if that is a problem, then think about what might be the challenges. How do I solve it? So that part of, and doing this as small projects, something which is very relatable to you in your environment. That you cannot solve big problems if you don't take the first step. You have to first learn how to take the first step, right? And which is around you. So pick problems, go to, and the problems, there are a lot available. You go to Kaggle, which you'll find so many problems in which you can learn so much about AI and data, right? So find out small projects which you can do together as a team to solve problems in your area, in your locality, in your institute, in your department, in your hometown. Problem solving is, I think, the biggest thing that you need to do, and use technology to do that. And then you will, once you have the question right, once you have the question right, you and ask the right questions, and then keep asking the questions, you will keep getting the answers. All the answers are available around us. The new generation is not going to be about what's the right answer. I am not going to give you the right answer. I don't have the right answer myself. But can you ask the right question? See, everything is available on Google today. Everything is available in Claude. Everything is available in ChatGPT and Gemini and all these. You ask the question, but asking the right prompt, and that's why prompt engineering is more interesting as a thing than the model itself, right? You can make the model work better. So think about it. All the answers are there. But what's the right question to ask? And what question will help you solve and navigate through that? That's I think one message which I want to give to all the students.
There are three, four questions regarding like how these technologies can be used in oil and natural gas.
Yeah,
So,
so oil and natural gas, I think a lot of both in, the entire sector of, the drilling, I mean, you have to pick I mean, the entire cycle. I'm sure you guys are studying about the entire cycle of that. Think about where is data available, right? And then think about what's the inside, how can you bring in efficiency in that part, is if it is drilling, if it is distribution, if it is refining, in refinement, what's the right mix? How do you, they're very simple things. I remember working with a paint organization who was like, what's the right blend of various raw materials I should use to get the right blend, right? And the same blend problem is actually in the beauty industry also. I've worked with L'Oreal where they talked about exactly the same one. What's the right blend so that the moisturizer is best for my consumers. So you think about it, the problem is the same. The right blend means I can, the various ingredients, then I can order better. I can order on time. I don't waste, so much of my material. So it's all about cost. It's about efficiency, and it is about more channels that you can go to. So every process that you pick up in oil and gas, um, I remember there was an organization I worked with, and they were all talking about predicting where do I put the next, um, um, where do I put. So there were predictive models that we made on the substations are there, right? On which power lines have to be laid, and then power lines have to be made. So a lot of trees were there in between, and they used AI models to figure out that when hailstorm is going to happen, when my power lines will fall, and hence before that I will plan for engineers to ensure and they reach there so that the critical power line will not get hampered by the hailstorm. So it is about that you have prevented and you have used predictive models in this whole power sector to help lay the lines as well as prevent them from falling down. So there are a lot of small examples like this, where you can predict about from based on the weather, based on the usage, based on so, and everywhere you have to think about cost, bringing down cost, bringing in efficiency, or opening new channels. If you think about these three things, you will create multiple multiple use cases.
Okay, ma'am, you talked about responsible AI. Now, with a lot of concerns like the development of the businesses, how do you balance ethical concerns with AI-driven decision making in businesses?
Yeah. So I think one has to understand how and where we are using the AI model, and where you are using AI. So there can be bias which will creep in. We as people are biased, right? So we are feeding the data. If we are feeding the data, we are approving the data, then our bias will be there inside that data also, right? So we have to find out the bias is in the data, or the model itself is has got bias, right? And there are simple examples, like if you say a doctor, immediately you use he. Why can't you use she, right? If you collect data from UP in some place, will it apply to Bangalore? It might not. It might just not, right? As humans, we can change our context very fast, because our brain has been wired and we change our context, right? But an AI model is learning only what our bias is, right? And sometimes building and generating bias on its own also, because it can generate, right? So detection is the first thing. First of all, be aware of it, detect it, and then remove it. There are AI models which can help remove bias in the AI models itself. Is a model fair? Is it giving a fair answer which is applicable to all? That's a thing that we have to check. So, in the whole responsible AI, and I would suggest, if someone of you are more interested in that, then there are very good NPTEL lectures on whole responsible AI. There's a Center of AI Governance in IIT Madras, and then there is a professor in IIIT Hyderabad who has some NPTEL. You should see that. There are very good lectures available. Please do the course. You get credit also in that, in those courses. You have to figure out how your university can help that, but they are courses, 1 or 3 credits that you can get if you do that courses. Please do that so that you understand the whole responsible AI and governance piece. It's a topic in itself that it takes hours and hours to explain, that what it is, how you can build. And there are a lot of tools which have come up to help you build safe AI. And there is a good amount of research which is happening. In fact, even the India AI mission, they have started a safety mission which can guide startups, which can guide students on what AI safety is all about.
Navjot Singh wants to ask, will relying too much on AI digital agents impact our critical thinking abilities or conventional problem solving skills in the long run?
See, if you don't think anything, and anything will get impacted, right? So what is important is you need to think, and think about relying. What do you mean by relying? If you're using too much of ChatGPT while answering your questions and your assignments, yes, you will get impacted, right? So what you should do is take them as your assistants. You should use. I'm not saying don't use. You will use. Teachers know that. Teachers also have to use it more now, right? So you have to use it. It is there with us, but you apply your mind, right? The human mind is the biggest gift that we have. And use it as an assistant, use it as someone who's helping you. There was a time, when using Google itself, people used to say, oh, assignments are being done by Google. But there was a time I remember when I was growing up, I had to write a debate topic on Vivekanand. I didn't even have a book. Forget Google. I didn't even have a book. I went around asking people, hey, do you have a Vivekanand book with so that I get to know who he is, what is his name? It was like that. And finally, I found some book, and then I wrote an essay of my analysis on what I had read on the book. And when my kids were growing up, that book is on Google. So they used Google to find out. So are they worse off? No, I think they are smart enough even more. But what was important is nobody was asking my children to write essays. I was being asked. Now they are asked to debate and do pros and cons, right? Because now the skill needed is not what do you know about Vivekanand? Why were his Hinduism lectures important? What is the change that he brought in? So you see the critical thinking which has come in now. It is not about Vivekanand's facts. It is about Vivekanand's philosophy of what he started, what impact it had on the global world. And tomorrow, the questions are going to be absolutely different. Nobody is going to ask you the philosophy because philosophy also will be given to you by ChatGPT. So, what those questions are, I don't know. But you will be tested and checked, and you will compete on absolutely new things. So, if you think that ChatGPT is going to give you the answer, you will be asked higher order things. So, when you go to higher order, you have to be ready. And what is important is critical thinking and problem solving. That remains the same, right?
Okay. Ma'am, like, what are the key barriers businesses face when adopting these new technologies?
Yeah. Very good question. And a last good ending question, the barriers, what they are. I think the barriers, one of the biggest, I'll talk about two barriers. One is the mindset, right? They don't want to change. They are happy with what they are. So the AI, and that's why in my book I talk about the AI mindset, and it will be good if you guys have a look at it. I don't know if I have a copy here. Yeah, I have a copy here. Yeah. So this is the book. You should read about the AI mindset in this. It's available on Amazon. You can have a look at that. So that's the first. The second one is talent. Who understands, right? And that's why you all are so important, that understanding on the area, the AI, cloud, or intelligence. They don't, still people don't get good talent to solve the problems, and to continuously pivot to new technologies. See, you learn one technology, you'll say I'm good at that, but do you have the mindset to change? And what is happening in the current world is the jobs are changing. The jobs content is changing. The name of the job itself is changing, right? What jobs used to be there earlier are changing. So very quickly you have to learn fast, and not just technology, new technology. You have to learn how to orient your business and start absolutely new things. So in that, the change management, the mindset, the talent which is ready to change are the biggest challenges for the organizations. So you will be surprised. I didn't talk about technology challenges. I talked about all challenges which are more human in nature.
Okay, ma'am, maybe if you allow, can we take one more question? Or,
Okay, one last.
okay, ma'am. So there's a question from Ritesh. He says, since distribution sector across pan India is being taken care of by government, then please suggest the means and ways to implement the introduction of data collection and its analysis in most efficient cost.
So see, I'll only say that the government sector is very, very progressive these days. If you have problems, the government is accepting a lot of startups. Please go to India AI Mission and you will see. I see somebody asking for a restaurant also and something. Go to the India AI Mission. They are giving so much of money out for startups and builders and people to build more and to, there is actually more money available than what people are using, right? So and even in the with the power sector or I have worked with Indian Oil Corporation, I worked with Coal India, I worked with ONGC, BPCL. I mean, all these organizations which are all PSUs, right? They're all government centric. There's a lot of progress, and they are working on very new projects. So I don't think that's a challenge. I don't think that's a challenge. And there are also private, in fact, there are a lot of, I've also done work with a lot of private sector who are doing the digitization and modernization of the state electricity boards. So there are companies which have built the whole smart meter solutions, the whole smart meter, different software products around it. So you should Google up about them, and there are a lot of energy domains and energy domain specialists which they are looking for. So you can work with them, and you can work with a lot of these organizations who are digitizing and who have created the solutions for the whole state electricity, the smart meter. The smart meters is a full of what we call as independent software vendors, and there are a bunch of them that you should reach out to.
I will ask one question, Shalini, to you.
Yes, yes.
The question, some of the students are also put a non-IT person. Where do those start if they have to start learning the AI and all this? And it was such a informative sessions, and everybody I'm sure is motivated to do something more in AI and IoT.
Yeah.
Where do they start with, and how do they do it? Just a
Yeah.
1 2 point for that.
Yeah, I think a good question. A lot of so when I was doing the CBSE course, then the CBSE chairman actually told me that make a course which is AI for all. It should not be only for STEM children. It should be a commerce student. It should be a humanities student. So we actually made the course which is for all, and you can check it out. It's under like IBM AI for all course. You can check it out. But I think if you want to get engaged, the most important thing is understanding the use cases. That where is the use case, and help in the design thinking, help in the user experience, help in detecting bias. There are roles called AI ethicist in the market today, whose job is to help in finding out the output of AI and how is it ethical or not. Then there are roles like conversational, like language. If you're contributing language, you're doing data annotation and collection, which is all non-technical stuff, right? So how can you help in data annotation, labeling? A lot of ITI engineers are working in this space, and there's a thinking going on that how to make engineers are all, the diploma that they are doing. So how can they do the data? They're not even engineers, right? But they have to learn so much about the collection of the data, which is so critical. So in all these things, understanding the concept, very basic concept, you don't need to overwhelm yourselves. Do some basic, you might be a doctor, you might be not even a doctor, you might be a nurse. You might be, so you might be using an AI model which is doing such important thing about patient, but how can you give the feedback so that the model improves? So understanding the business of AI is what you should focus on, not the technology of AI. And I do talk a lot about this in the book, because I knew that there are a lot of people who will come and ask that I'm a finance person, I'm a product manager, I'm teacher. How do I, go about it? So I think with the change happening, the usage is what you need to understand. Then you will, and there are courses which are available. You have to ask the right things. Ask the right question to ChatGPT itself or to Claude itself. I use Claude, and there are, see how you are able to use it better, how you are able to give it feedback better. So that once you understand that, then, that's the entry point. So new roles are coming up, new adoption mechanisms are coming up, and hence many more can be
Thank you.
included.
Thank you for this.
So thank you so much, Ms. Shalini Kapoor, for sharing your valuable insights today. Your deep expertise and practical examples have truly helped us understand how technologies like cloud, AI, and IoT are shaping the future of business intelligence. I would like to take a moment to extend a heartfelt thank you to the organizer, Reena ma'am, for her meticulous planning and coordination that made this webinar possible. Sincere thanks to our respected director Preeti ma'am, Jan sir, Kabir sir, and all the esteemed faculty members and staff members who have joined today. And of course, thank you to our wonderful audience for your active participation and thoughtful questions. We hope today's session has sparked new ideas and perspectives. With that, we would conclude the webinar. Stay curious, stay inspired, and let's continue to harness the power of technology for meaningful impact. Thank you and have a
Thank
great
you.
day ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Emma. Thank you, Reena ma'am. Thank you so
Thank you.
much, all of you.
Thank you. It was
Bye.
such an informative, very informative session. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay.